Okay, so next, we're gonna do requirement two. So requirement two says, okay, if you look at the question again, it says measures which directly target the various sources of the above mentioned deflation. So if you look at the preamble, there are two sort of root causes. The first one is falling oil prices, yeah, and the next one is oversupply of property leading to falling rentals. So you can either go for A or B, yeah. So I'm going to explain A. Okay, we're going to talk about A, which is I'm going to try and target the falling oil prices. Okay, so what is the measure we're going to use? We're going to say firstly that Saudi Arabia. Okay, maybe before I begin, so this measure, right, is not any one of your conventional fiscal, monetary, exchange rate, or supply side policy. Yeah. So what you're trying to do is you are directly trying to target the oil prices, and through the oil prices get you to AD. Okay, so it's not the conventional fiscal, monetary, supply side, or exchange rate policy. Yeah. Okay, so don't be, so this is slightly different. So if you notice it, why is this explanation a little bit different? I just want to let you know upfront. Okay, so Saudi Arabia actually is the largest crude oil producer, and so actually they can influence oil prices by reducing the supply of oil. Okay, so we know that when there's a decrease in supply, there will be a rise in price. Okay, so when there's a rise in price, okay, what we're getting to again, if you got to be very laser focused on what you're getting to. You're trying to get to AD. Okay, your destination is to try to get to AD. Okay, so when you decrease supply of oil and you increase its price, then what the unique thing about oil is that the PED of oil is less than 1. Yeah, oil does not have substitutes in terms of its ability to produce energy. Yeah, so it's an important or necessary, let me just use the technical terms for PED, so necessary FOP for many industrial processes, and even in the transportation or aviation industry, there's no substitute for it. So the PED is definitely less than 1. So when you increase price, there's a less than proportionate decrease in quantity demanded. And so what happens is that if you are an oil producer, shift this to the right, if you're an oil producer, then the export revenue would increase. Okay, though this can hit AD in a couple of ways. One is that it can directly target X minus M, right? Because exports are a component of AD, of X minus M, sorry. And then also because of the unique situation here where the government is actually the owner of the oil company, you can also say that this gives the government more reserves to increase G. Yeah, so you got two components that you can hit here, like that. All right, so then from here you can increase AD. Yeah, so that's one. AD. So the increase in AD, reach that, and then two things. Then the other thing also happens, right? Like because oil, AD, let's circle it. Because oil is an important FOP, factor of production. There will be some there. So Saudi Arabia is not just an oil exporter, right? But their own domestic industries also require the use of oil to function normally, right? So because oil is an important FOP, even for Saudi Arabian companies, Saudi. So just because they export it doesn't mean their own industries don't use it. Yeah, Saudi Arabian companies. So the rise in the price of oil will also lead to a rise in the COP for firms in Saudi Arabia. And so as a result, then firms, this will cause a upward shift of the horizontal AS, but it happens because firms are only willing and able to produce the same output if given a higher price, if offered a higher price, if offered a higher price, So this means that the horizontal portion of the AS curve, oh goodness, quite laggy, curve shifts up. Okay, so we're going to draw a diagram. We have, so this is a decrease in AS. But if you know one funny property about this is that decrease in AS is you shift it. Counterintuitively, you shift it up. Okay, so we got 1 here, the AD is rising, 2, AS is decreasing. So I think we can go ahead and draw the diagram. Yeah. So go ahead and draw the diagram. So when you want to shift the AS curve up, you want to just draw on the horizontal line. Yeah, so label on the horizontal line. Okay, because we're going to shift it up. AD naught. So we just start here, Y naught and P naught. And let's just shift it to the right. AD1, Y1, P1. Yeah. So when this happens, then firms will pass on the increase in cost of production to households. And they do so because they want to protect the profit margins, right? So they want to earn the same amount. So the only way they can earn the same amount is they pass on the whole COP to you. Yeah. So firms pass on the increase in COP to households by raising prices from P0 to P1. Yeah, then just link back to the question. So this helps to reverse the deflationary cycle. Okay, yeah. So this is not your conventional fiscal monetary supply side policy where you can just regurgitate the entire all the technical terms. So you this part, especially this portion here, you have to think through. Okay, so the way you think through is you say, okay, I need to get to AD or AS, and here's the way I can do it. And your starting point, you have to know, is about oil prices because they want measures which directly target the various sources of deflation. Okay. Okay, so next part, we're not done. So next part will be we want to evaluate this. Next part will be let's try and give some evaluative comment. If this is so good, why don't everybody just do this, right? Or why didn't Saudi Arabia do this earlier? There could be things that sort of derail this grand plan, right? And so what you're trying to do is that the government, Saudi Arabia is trying to decrease prices to increase oil export revenue, right? But we all know that it's not just they're trying to decrease supply, my bad. They're trying to decrease supply and then they raise prices, so then it will increase oil export revenue, right? But then we know that there are other factors that affect the oil export revenue, and so what could bring this down instead is a decrease in demand. Yeah. So however, demand for oil may, or actually it's not may, it's actually decreasing, is still decreasing. And this decrease, if the decrease in demand is significant, then its effect on decreasing the oil export revenue is more significant. And so as a result, the policy of decreasing supply may not increase oil export revenue, and if so, AD may not increase, and the deflation may persist. Yeah. So this is one reason why actually looks good in theory, but if you don't have the ceteris paribus and other things like a fall in demand is happening, maybe this won't work, right? Because the export revenue won't rise. Yeah. Okay. Last part, we gotta give a conclusion. I'm gonna bring myself up to the top again. So let's just read the question again. Discuss whether these oil exporting countries should use fiscal stimulus or measures which directly target the various sources of the above mentioned deflation. Okay, so we can just start by giving a stand. Okay, I like to begin with in conclusion. So you want to signpost very clearly that, hey, I'm concluding. Yeah, just signpost very clearly to the examiner. So in conclusion, if you think about it, actually measures which directly target the deflation should be used, right? Because it helps to solve the root cause of the problem. So that's one, right? So if deflation is happening because of a certain reason, then you want to ideally try and solve that particular problem. So in this case, it's the oil problem, right? The other thing that maybe you want to use this oil method of trying to solve deflation is that you're quite tied up with fiscal policy, so you don't have a lot of room to manipulate, right? Because now the problem is that your government doesn't really have money because its main source of revenue is through export revenue, right? So in terms of facing constraints, your government is really tied up, and fiscal policy may not be a feasible thing to do. Yeah. So in conclusion, policies that directly target the deflation. Okay, gosh, it's a bit laggy. Deflation should be used to solve the root cause. So root cause is a way for you to get some evaluation. It's a technique you can use. Root cause of the problem. Yeah. So I can give a bit of commentary on this. This is because oil is the most important export, and exports, X minus M, is likely the largest component in AD. So therefore, it may be more effective. So that's one, right? So you play up one policy and then you just play down the other. Moreover, FP is limited due to the falling export revenue, falling oil revenue. Yeah, technically it's not, shouldn't use them interchangeably. So falling oil revenue. Hence, hence targeting. Oops. Sorry. Hence targeting oil prices also gives more funds for the use of fiscal policy. So basically, you're killing two birds with one stone. One, you're solving the deflation and giving, and number two, you're giving firepower or funds for the government to use to try and further solve this deflationary problem that you have. Yeah. So this is requirement 2, and this is the entire essay for question 44b.